Understanding your camera's exposure has a big impact on your photos. The exposure setting you choose depends mostly on how much control you want over your aperture, shutter speed, and ISO settings, and there are a few options to pick from. If you're brand new to DSLR photography, let auto mode make the exposure decisions for you. Just turn on autofocus, set the exposure control to auto, and fire away. When you press the shutter release, the camera guesses which subject in the frame is most important and focuses on that. If you don't want to give the camera absolute control over your exposure, programmed exposure is another option. To set programmed exposure, look for a P on the mode dial. Programmed exposure is still an automated exposure system, but it lets you fine-tune the setting the camera chooses by adjusting the flash, white balance, and ISO settings. Auto usually won't let you make those adjustments. As you start to get comfortable using the DSLR, start taking back exposure control. With shutter and aperture priority modes, use your photo smarts to set a basic parameter that works for the photo you have in mind, and then let the camera take over to intelligently make other adjustments. Shutter priority mode lets you choose the shutter speed. Your camera's auto exposure system will then adjust for the aperture. Shutter priority mode is useful when photographing sports. It allows you to select a fast shutter speed, such as 1/500th or 1/1000th, in order to freeze the action. If you want to use shutter priority mode, look for the S, or if you're shooting with a Canon DSLR, look for TV on the mode dial. Aperture priority mode is just the opposite. Set the aperture you want, and the metering system sets the matching shutter speed. If you want an image with a shallow depth of field, select an aperture of f2.8 and let the camera select the shutter speed. To use aperture priority, look for an A, or if you have a Canon DSLR, look for AV on the mode dial. There will come a time when you want to take exposure control into your own hands. With manual mode, you set the shutter speed and the aperture. But don't worry, the camera's built-in meter is always there if you need it. Manual mode lets you take advantage of special effects, like creating a silhouette feel or underexposing a sunset. You can balance lighting, easily use older optics, or try manual mode if you're using a non-compatible flash. So, auto mode? Or are you feeling adventurous with manual? Pick and choose what works best for each photo.